Today's video is focusing on the advanced manufacturing workforce and what we're seeing in terms of labor force trends both in the US and globally. And a big reason that we're focusing on that today is that we are really in this historic period where we're witnessing this massive growth in manufacturing across the US, but at the same time, a massive contraction of the workforce. So since 2021, we've seen $300 billion of manufacturing construction, but at the same time, we're seeing almost 11,000 retirees a day going out of the workforce. And what's happening is not only are we looking at a labor shortage, which is really a different problem than the actual skills gap that is growing in the U.S. Those retirees are leaving huge gaps in the experienced workforce, and in addition to the technological changes that we're seeing, is that really right now we're in this historic moment of a skills gap, and it's a quality problem, not a quantity. A labor shortage, not enough people, raise wages, find more people. A skills gap is that you're really lacking the candidates that can fill these highly technical and specialized positions, and this requires upskilling and a fundamental change of the ecosystem to support this type of workforce. And it's really a global phenomenon. There's really no country that has been spared from either a combination of a labor shortage and a skills gap, one or both. And we're really looking at up to 85 million jobs that'll be unfilled by 2030. A really good case study of how this is a real-time problem is the TSMC project in Arizona. This is a $40 billion capital investment project that had a one-year delay, not due to what maybe people would think is typical things like a permitting issue or environmental issue. The delay is explicitly due to a lack of skilled workers to help install the tools that were needed in the specialized equipment. And additionally, what's driving this problem is that we're not refueling the workforce with younger talent. There's this stigma still in the US about manufacturing jobs. About 74% of Gen Z view manufacturing jobs as a step down from a university path. And unfortunately, that doesn't match the reality. And the reality today is that the jobs in advanced manufacturing, not only are they in incredibly clean, high-tech environments, they're also incredibly high paid. An electrical engineer in a lot of places in the US right now can command over $200,000 a year because they're in extreme scarcity. And unfortunately, robots and automation aren't going to solve the problem. We can't just automate our way out of this labor shortage and skills gap. Unfortunately, automation actually increases the problem because it's going to increase the need for these complex roles and specialized skills that we already don't have enough of. And to double down on that, we also have this gap in the education system where the speed of change of the higher education system to supply the type of talent that's required is much slower than the industry cycle of technological changes. And so the short story of that is the education system just can't keep up with what industry needs from its graduates. Now, it is important to note that this isn't a one-size-fits-all problem in the U.S. We have talent-rich markets where you've still got a very dense supply of manufacturing talent, maybe needs upskilling or retooling, but still a dense supply of that talent. But you also have many pockets in the U.S. that are what you would call labor deserts. And they're just in short supply, have almost liquidated most of their manufacturing workforce, and they are not refueling that with younger talent. And in places like labor deserts, you can't just buy talent. Buying talent isn't going to fix the problem and it actually, really kind of worsens the problem because you end up paying these massive premiums to capture what's already a short supply of talent, and then you risk that poaching from other employers as well. It's really not a long-term solution. So what we're seeing a lot of companies doing right now is they're doing a build strategy. And so they're really working through the apprenticeship programs to help train the talent internally of what they need. We're seeing massive retention rates. The rates are very high for retention of apprentices coming out of these programs. And companies are seeing really good returns on every dollar they invest in the registered apprenticeship programs. Long term, there needs to be structural reform, kind of what we call a triple helix model. And so what really needs to happen is that industry needs to define the skills that are needed from the higher education system, or really all levels of the education system. Educators at all those levels need to build the curriculum quickly, and the government needs to fund the equipment and the curriculum and all that's needed to fuel those students. And we're going to create that unified feedback loop to really start generating at a much higher volume and faster rate that talent that's going to be needed to fill that advanced manufacturing sector that's growing in the US. And how this fits into the broader context of manufacturing in the U.S. is really, this is tied to a part of the transformation we're seeing going to Industry 4.0. Really the first industrial boom, the kind of Industrial 2.0, that was focused on mass production. How do you increase capacity? How do you make more, build more? And it was about people, it was about volume. You get as many people as you can to make the product and you get more product. And then we transitioned to Industry 3.0, which focused on automation. And that was really about efficiency. That's where we had things like Six Sigma and how do you find efficiencies in the manufacturing process. But now as we're coming on to Industry 4.0, it's about the cyber physical is what we're calling that. And the main job of the workforce will be minds. It'll be about the capability and agility of the workforce to support the production. And so it's really now more about talent density than it is about anything else. And this is really going to define what we'll see going forward across the US and how we adapt to supply the advanced manufacturing sector. So that's where we're going to end today. Thank you everybody for watching and stay tuned for our next video.